There's a product sitting in nearly every shopping cart in America right now. It moves off shelves faster than almost anything else in the store. The markup on it is sitting quietly at 4,000% and buried inside peer-reviewed research. The kind that doesn't make it onto packaging or promotional material is evidence suggesting it may be more contaminated than the thing you already have at home, for free, 20 feet from your couch. We'll get there. That's number one. But before we count down, you need to understand something about the system you're walking into every week, because this isn't a list of overpriced products born from simple corporate greed. What's actually happening is more calculated than that, and once you see the architecture of it, you can't unsee it. Grocery stores are not neutral spaces. They are precision-engineered revenue extraction environments. Every element, the width of the aisles, the temperature near the produce section, the height at which products are placed, the direction the cart naturally wants to drift, the music playing at a tempo specifically calibrated to slow your pace, has been studied, tested, and refined over decades with one objective: to maximize the dollar amount you spend before you reach the exit. The average American household is bleeding over $1,500 annually inside these environments. Not because people are careless or uninformed, because the traps are built by professionals, funded by billion-dollar industry budgets, and disguised as convenience, health, and value. This is 16 items, each one chosen for a specific reason. Some will feel familiar, a few will change the way you read a label. And by number one, you may never interact with that product the same way again. Let's go. Number 16, pre-washed bagged spinach. Here's one the wellness crowd gets hit hardest by. A standard 5-ounce bag of pre-washed baby spinach runs $3.49 to $4.99 at most chains. A full bunch of fresh spinach, which typically yields more than twice that quantity, costs $1.29 to $1.79. The math is already unflattering, but there's a second layer most people never look at. Pre-washed is a marketing term, not a safety guarantee. Studies testing pre-washed bagged greens have found bacterial contamination rates comparable to unwashed produce, because the humid, sealed environment of a plastic bag is nearly ideal for microbial growth during the time between processing facility and your refrigerator. You're paying a significant premium for a label that implies a standard of cleanliness that the packaging itself undermines. Fresh spinach, bought in bunches, washed once at home, stored loosely wrapped in a dry cloth, stays fresh for up to a week, and costs a fraction of the bagged version. The convenience markup here isn't small. It's roughly 200 to 300% on a per-serving basis for food that is meaningfully less safe, not more. Number 15, flavored sparkling water. This one has positioned itself brilliantly as a healthy alternative in the beverage aisle. A 4-pack of flavored sparkling water, the kind with a minimalist label and a fruit illustration, typically runs $5 to $7. That's $1.25 to $1.75 per can. A standard countertop carbonation device costs $70 to $90. And the CO2 canisters that power it produce sparkling water at roughly 6 to 8 cents per liter. For a household that drinks 2 to 3 cans daily, the break-even point on that device arrives within the first 2 to 3 months. After that, you're producing superior sparkling water with no plastic waste at nearly zero cost per serving. The flavoring is even simpler. A slice of cucumber and a few mint leaves dropped into a pitcher, a wedge of citrus, a few crushed berries. The result is fresher than anything in a can, costs almost nothing, and contains none of the citric acid additives in commercial flavored sparkling water, which, consumed in large quantities over time, have been linked to accelerated dental enamel erosion in multiple clinical studies. The industry understands that healthy hydration is a $30 billion perception. The reality is a carbonation cartridge in a piece of fruit. Number 14, bagged salad kits. This one sits in nearly every cart, and almost no one questions it. A ready-to-eat salad kit, pre-shredded lettuce, a miniature dressing sachet, a few croutons, typically costs $5 to $7. Build that exact same salad from its components, and you're spending under $2. The markup is 200 to 300%. But pricing alone doesn't tell the full story. The moment leafy greens are cut, a biological clock starts ticking. The cutting process triggers oxidative stress in the plant tissue, accelerating the breakdown of vitamin C and other volatile nutrients faster than whole leaves would naturally lose them. A bag of pre-shredded salad on the produce shelf may have been processed several days earlier, whilst losing both nutritional density and structural integrity the entire time. The dressing sachets packaged inside compound the problem. The vast majority contain elevated sodium levels, added sugar, and shelf life extending stabilizers that have nothing to do with flavor and everything to do with logistics. A whole head of romaine or a bunch of kale, washed once, stored wrapped in a clean, dry towel, stays crisp and nutritionally intact for the better part of a week. The savings are immediate. The quality is measurably better. The only thing the bag is selling you is the illusion of preparation. Number 13. Flavored instant oatmeal packets. This one follows the same structural logic as the snack pack markup, but the sugar content makes it worth examining on its own terms. A box of 10 individually portioned flavored oatmeal packets, were marketed with words like wholesome, hearty, and nourishing, costs approximately $4 to $5. Each packet contains roughly 1.5 ounces of oats. A 42-ounce canister of plain rolled oats from the same shelf costs approximately the same $4 to $5 and yields 25 to 30 servings. You're paying 2 to 3 times more per serving, and the nutritional trade-off runs in exactly the wrong direction. Flavored instant oatmeal packets typically contain 10 to 15 grams of added sugar per serving. Some varieties push higher. The American Heart Association's guidance puts the daily added sugar ceiling at 25 grams for women and 36 grams for men. One breakfast packet can consume nearly half of that allocation before the day has properly begun. Plain rolled oats contain 0 added sugar. On a stovetop, they're ready in 5 minutes. In a jar with cold water overnight, they require no active time at all. Add your own fruit, a measured drizzle of honey, a pinch of cinnamon, and you have absolute control over the bowl. The flavored packet is packaged and priced like a health decision. Nutritionally, it reads closer to a dessert, and you're subsidizing that misrepresentation with every box you buy. If this is shifting how you're thinking about what goes into your cart, drop a like, leave a comment, and subscribe. The next section is where the numbers start to get harder to ignore. Number 12, individual yogurt cups. Something that's almost certainly in your refrigerator right now. Single-serve Greek yogurt cups typically cost $14 to $17 per pound when you run the unit price calculation. The same brand, same product, same ingredients in a large multi-serving tub, $4 to $5 per pound, a price gap of up to 4 times, for food that is chemically, nutritionally, and flavorfully identical. The only variable is the size of the container it arrived in. There's also a shelf life dimension that goes unmentioned. Larger containers move faster off store shelves because they carry a higher retail price. The multi-pack of individual cups, sitting as individual units in a refrigerated display, frequently has a longer transit time from production to purchase. You may be paying 4 times more for a product that is, in practical terms, older. A household where one person consumes a single yogurt cup daily spends an estimated $250 to $350 more per year than someone buying the equivalent quantity in larger tubs and portioning at home. The fix is a one-time investment, a few small reusable containers. Scoop it out when you get home. That's the entire adjustment. The savings over 3 years fund a weekend trip. Number 11, single-serve snack packs. The figures here are almost blunt in their honesty. A multi-pack of individually portioned crackers, 10 to 12 small pouches in a box, costs $7 to $9 for approximately 8 to 10 ounces. The family-sized bag of identical crackers, same brand, same recipe, same factory, costs $4 to $5 for 28 to 30 ounces. On a per-ounce basis, the single-serve version costs 5 to 6 times more. There is no compensating trade-off. The food is identical. What you're purchasing is subdivision. The act of someone else putting the crackers into smaller bags before they reached you. The global snack food market exceeds $692 billion and continues growing at over 4% annually. So individual packaging is one of its primary growth engines, not because it delivers value to the consumer, but because it reliably commands a premium that most consumers never pause to calculate. Households relying heavily on single-serve packaging spend an estimated $600 to $900 more per year than those buying equivalent products in bulk and portioning independently. Over a decade, that figure enters genuinely significant territory. The practical correction takes 4 minutes once. Buy the large bag. Pick up a small set of reusable containers. Portion it yourself. The math doesn't need to be explained twice. Number 10, pre-cut fruits and vegetables. Walk through any produce section, and you'll find two versions of the same item occupying the same few feet of retail space. A whole pineapple, $2.99. That same pineapple, peeled, cored, charged and sliced into a clear plastic container, $5.49. An 83% price increase for approximately 4 minutes of knife work and a container that cost the store pennies. Industry data shows pre-cut produce consistently carries an average markup of 40% or more compared to whole equivalents. Across a full year, a household that habitually reaches for the pre-cut version pays several hundred extra dollars for labor that costs the store almost nothing per unit. But here's the part that makes this worse than a simple overcharge. The moment produce is cut, nutritional degradation begins immediately. Exposure to air and light breaks down vitamins, particularly vitamin C and select B vitamins, at a rate significantly faster than intact whole produce. Pre-cut items dry out, lose texture, and reach spoilage ahead of their whole counterparts. So you're paying a substantial premium for food that is measurably inferior at the moment of purchase. Two alternatives the industry doesn't advertise. First, batch prep at home. 20 minutes once or twice a week covers most of what people buy pre-cut. Second, the frozen aisle, which is one of the most nutritionally legitimate and commercially underappreciated sections in the store. Frozen fruits and vegetables are harvested at peak ripeness and flash frozen within hours, locking in vitamins and cellular structure. They cost 40 to 60% less than pre-cut fresh alternatives and last months. The grocery industry does not promote the frozen aisle because frozen produce is among their lowest margin categories. That fact alone tells you where the value actually lives. Number 9, name brand spices. Here's one that most people never think to investigate because the dollar amounts appear small at the point of purchase. A major brand jar of smoked paprika at a conventional grocery chain, $3.79 for roughly 2.5 ounces. The same spice in the same quantity at a Middle Eastern or Indian specialty market nearby, often under 50 cents. A price gap approaching 700%. Same spice, different aisle, different story. But the pricing disparity isn't even the most important detail. Those attractively designed small batch-looking jars have typically spent 6 months to 2 years in a distribution supply chain before arriving in your cart. Spices are volatile products. Their aromatic compounds, the oils that produce flavor and fragrance, break down with time, exposure to light, and temperature fluctuation. The paprika that should be vibrant, smoky, and warm tastes like mildly tinted powder, not because it was ever a poor product, but because it exhausted its potency sitting in a warehouse. Ethnic specialty markets turn spice inventory in weeks, not months. Fresher product, bulk quantities, dramatically lower price points. Buy whole spices where possible, whole cumin, whole coriander, whole black pepper, because they retain volatile oils far longer than pre-ground. Store in airtight glass away from the stove. That $3.79 spent at the right shop doesn't buy a small jar of oregano. It buys enough to last close to a year. You're halfway through, and the remaining items carry significantly heavier annual cost implications. If you haven't yet, hit like and subscribe. Number 1 involves research that most people have never encountered, and it changes the conversation entirely. Number 8, specialty diet-labeled foods. This is where grocery store marketing achieves something close to elegant audacity. A jar of keto-labeled peanut butter at a major national chain, approximately $11 for 16 ounces. Ingredients, peanuts, salt. A conventional natural peanut butter from the same store, same 2 ingredients, same macronutrient profile, same everything. $3.79 for 16 ounces. The word keto-friendly printed on the front of the label added $7.20 to the price. It changed nothing about the food inside. The pattern holds throughout the specialty diet section. Paleo-certified almond crackers. Whole30 compliant pasta sauces. Every one of these descriptions, stripped of branding, applies equally to conventional products already sitting on adjacent shelves at conventional prices, with none of the certification premium attached. Diet frameworks like keto, paleo, and Whole30 are not product categories. They are nutritional frameworks, sets of criteria that Whole Foods have always naturally met without requiring anyone's seal of approval. The specialty diet food market grew by over 40% in a 2-year window, not because labeled products are nutritionally superior, because consumers committed to a specific eating approach tend to be motivated, slightly anxious about compliance, and more receptive to packaging that visually signals permission. The practical workaround is straightforward. Understand the underlying logic of your nutritional approach, then source conventional whole foods that already satisfy it. Eggs have always been keto. Plain chicken breast has always been paleo. Canned crushed tomatoes with no additives have always been Whole30 compliant. None of that requires a premium label. Read the ingredient list on the back. Ignore everything printed on the front. Number 7. Superfood products. Here's the piece of information the packaging will never volunteer. The FDA has never defined the word superfood. It is not a regulated term. It carries no legal standard of evidence, no certification body, and no minimum nutritional threshold. Any manufacturer at any time can print it on any product and charge accordingly. Thousands of them do. Over the past 4 years, use of the term in consumer food marketing has increased by more than 300%. That acceleration has nothing to do with new scientific breakthroughs and everything to do with the discovery that the label is extraordinarily effective at justifying prices consumers would otherwise refuse. Goji berries currently retail at $12 to $14 for an 8-ounce bag at major U.S. grocery chains, placing them at over $24 per pound. Cultivated blueberries, supported by an extensive body of peer-reviewed antioxidant and cognitive research, retail for $3 to $5 per pound. Blackberries, frozen mixed berries, raspberries, all in the same range. Goji berries are legitimate food with genuine nutritional properties. But in China, where they have been a dietary staple for centuries, they are an ordinary, inexpensive market commodity. The superfood designation that multiplies their price when they enter Western packaging is not science. It is positioning. The foods with the most robust long-term human health research behind them are the least exotic items in any produce section. Dark leafy greens, berries, legumes, cruciferous vegetables, whole grains. None of them require a label. They've been sustaining human populations for thousands of years without needing a marketing team. Number 6. Organic across the board. Most people buying organic are doing it for a reason that is supported by real data, and that instinct deserves respect. The Environmental Working Group's annual pesticide analysis found that approximately 95% of their most recently sampled produce contained measurable pesticide residues. Some individual pieces of fruit tested positive for more than 50 distinct chemical compounds. Strawberries in particular have shown as many as 23 separate residues even after washing. That is a legitimate concern, and it justifies a targeted organic strategy. But the same research contains a finding that receives almost no attention in consumer discourse. Nearly 65% of items on the Clean 15, avocados, sweet corn, pineapple, onions, cabbage, showed zero detectable pesticide residue. For those products, organic certification provides no measurable benefit. You are paying a label premium that changes nothing about what is actually on your plate. The organic sector is now a $52 billion industry. That label adds approximately 20% to the average item's cost and considerably more in certain categories. One additional detail worth holding on to. 4 of the 5 most commonly detected residues on high-risk produce are fungicides applied post-harvest, not to support plant growth, but to extend visual appeal on the shelf. These compounds are under active study for potential effects on thyroid and reproductive function. The practical strategy that emerges from this: spend organic budget on the dirty dozen, strawberries, spinach, kale, peaches, pears, and their neighbors on that list. Buy conventional for the Clean 15. Applied consistently, this single adjustment reduces organic spending by 40 to 50% without meaningfully increasing pesticide exposure. The targeted approach is smarter than the blanket one and significantly less expensive. Number 5. Pre-marinated meat. Walk through any conventional grocery store's meat section, and the same product exists in 2 forms within a few feet of each other. Plain chicken thighs, $4.49 per pound. Honey chipotle chicken thighs in a sealed seasoning tray, $7.29 per pound. A 62% markup for roughly 30 to 50 cents worth of sauce applied to the same piece of chicken. That's the financial picture. But the second issue is the one the store has no interest in drawing attention to. Pre-marinated meats are consistently high in sodium. Many commercially marinated chicken products contain 700 to 900 milligrams of sodium per serving before any other food is consumed that day. The American Heart Association's recommended daily ceiling sits at 2,300 milligrams and closer to 1,500 for adults managing blood pressure. A single serving of some marinated products delivers more than a third of that ceiling at breakfast or lunch. The sodium isn't coincidental. It's a functional preservative that extends shelf life, amplifies flavor perception, and activates craving responses that encourage repeat purchase. From a commercial standpoint, it functions almost perfectly as an ingredient. What a homemade marinade gives you in return: exact knowledge of every ingredient, a fraction of the sodium, fresher flavor, and 5 minutes of actual effort. Olive oil, an acid, garlic, whatever herbs are available. That's the whole formula. The math does not favor the tray. We're in the final stretch, and what's coming in the last 3 spots is where the annual costs compound into numbers most households have never added up. And I like and subscribe before we get there. Number 1 has a health dimension that most people haven't read about anywhere. Number 4, what pre-marinated meat is actually concealing. Commercial marinades do not only add flavor. They introduce color-enhancing compounds, modified starches, preservatives, and flavor additives, specifically selected to make meat appear and smell more attractive than it might without intervention. A former grocery store meat department manager described the practice directly. Pre-marinated products are frequently the vehicle for moving cuts that are approaching their sell-by date. Heavy seasoning, high salt concentration, and color-modifying additives effectively mask the subtle shifts in appearance and odor that would otherwise signal to a customer that a cut is aging. The glossy, even vibrant presentation you see in that sealed tray is partly seasoning, but it is also partly concealment. When you marinate meat yourself, you know the exact age of the cut, the exact ingredients in the marinade, and the exact sodium content. When you purchase the pre-marinated version, you are working with an ingredient list that routinely includes compounds whose names are designed to sound more natural than they functionally are. Research consistently links high and sustained intake of preserved and processed meats to elevated risk of cardiovascular disease and certain metabolic conditions. The full accounting here is stark. You pay 60% more, consume significantly more sodium, accept reduced ingredient transparency, and may be purchasing meat closer to its expiration point than you would have chosen. In exchange, will you save 3 to 5 minutes? That is not a favorable trade, and the industry is counting on you not running those numbers at the shelf. Number 3, energy drinks and specialty coffee. This one is structurally different from everything above it. Not because the markup is uniquely severe, though it is, but because for most buyers, this is not an occasional purchase. It is a daily ritual, and daily rituals, when you spread them across a calendar year, produce numbers that most people have genuinely never looked at all at once. One energy drink from the grocery store, $3.29 to $4.50. One specialty cold brew or ready-to-drink coffee, $5 to $6. Purchasing both 3 to 4 times a week produces a monthly beverage cost of $100 to $130 before a single item of food has been purchased. Over a year, that's $1,200 to $1,500 on beverages alone. Over 5 years, that's a meaningful fraction of an emergency fund, a down payment contribution, or a year of tuition. Now add the health dimension. A standard energy drink contains 54 to 80 grams of sugar in a single can. That figure exceeds the American Heart Association's entire recommended daily limit for women and approaches double the recommended limit for men in a single beverage. The $22 billion energy drink industry has successfully repackaged this reality behind language like clean energy, natural caffeine, and B vitamin complex. The biochemistry inside the can has not changed. The coffee markup tells an equally uncomfortable story. A quality 40-ounce container of ground coffee produces roughly 100 cups at approximately 10 cents per cup brewed at home, versus $5 to $6 for a single cafe cup. Oh, that's a markup approaching 5,000%. Cold brew requires 4 minutes of active effort. Coarse grounds, cold water, refrigerate overnight. A 32-ounce batch costs $1.50 to $2 to produce at home. The same volume in ready-to-drink bottles at the grocery store costs $15 to $25. The industry is counting on the fact that the moment when most people make this purchase, the morning before full cognitive function has arrived, is precisely the worst moment to run a cost-benefit analysis. Once you do run it, the figures don't quietly go away. Number 2, fresh bakery items. You've felt this without necessarily identifying the mechanism. You walk through the entrance of a large grocery store, and within seconds something shifts. There's warmth in the air, the scent of baked bread, cinnamon, something comforting and immediate. And before you've looked at a single product or price tag, you're already thinking about the bakery. Here is what is actually happening. Many major grocery chains use engineered scent diffusion systems that circulate synthetic bakery aromas through the store's ventilation, not as a natural byproduct of baking activity, but as a deliberate environmental intervention designed to trigger hunger and emotional comfort at the exact moment you're most susceptible to unplanned purchases. Research from the Scent Marketing Institute found that artificially pumping the scent of fresh bread through a grocery store tripled bakery section sales. Not increased, tripled. It is one of the most effective forms of in-store persuasion the retail industry has ever systematically documented. And most shoppers experience this system dozens of times a year without knowing it is a system and not a smell. The margins reflect the investment. Individual muffins, croissants, and decorated cookies typically carry gross margins of 55 to 65%. A $4.50 muffin may represent a raw ingredient cost of under $1. You are paying for packaging, presentation, and a sensory experience that was engineered to reach your limbic system before your reasoning mind had a chance to weigh in. Rational alternatives exist quietly beside the theater. Most stores maintain a day-old bakery section where items from the previous day are marked down 40 to 50%. The quality difference is negligible. Store-brand baking mixes produce equivalent results for a fraction of the cost. A $2.29 box yields the same quantity as a $10 bakery tray. The scent feels like a natural craving. It is not. Understanding the mechanism doesn't eliminate the smell, but it does change what you do when you encounter it. Number 1. Bottled water. This is where the numbers stop being surprising and begin to be genuinely difficult to rationalize away. A standard $2 bottle of water costs the manufacturer approximately 5 cents to produce. The markup is roughly 4,000%. And in a significant proportion of cases, the water inside that bottle is municipally sourced, drawn from the same public supply infrastructure as your tap. Many of the most recognizable brands on the shelf are processed municipal tap water with added minerals and proprietary filtration steps. The source is frequently disclosed in the fine print of the label, where almost no one reads it. You are paying 4,000% more for water that, in many cases, originates from the same reservoir as what flows freely from your kitchen faucet. But the financial argument, extraordinary as it is only one part of this. A 2024 study from researchers at Columbia and Rutgers universities found that the average 1-liter bottle of commercially sold water contains approximately 240,000 microscopic plastic particles. That figure is 10 to 100 times higher than earlier studies reported because scientists only recently developed detection tools sensitive enough to identify the smallest fragments, now classified as nanoplastics. These particles are being identified in human blood, lung tissue, breast milk, and in placental tissue collected from unborn children. If here is the detail that makes the bottled water argument collapse at its foundation, newer research indicates that bottled water frequently contains higher concentrations of microplastic contamination than regular tap water. The packaging itself is a source. The plastic of the bottle, particularly when exposed to heat, light, and physical stress during transportation, sheds particles into the water it is supposed to be protecting. You are paying 4,000% more for water that the emerging science suggests may be more contaminated than what you could pour for free from your kitchen tap. The correction costs less than a single month's worth of bottled water purchases. And a water filter certified by NSF International, the independent organization that actually tests and verifies filtration performance, runs $25 to $60 and removes the vast majority of relevant contaminants from tap water, including heavy metals, chlorine byproducts, and, with certain filter types, microplastics themselves. A reusable stainless steel or glass bottle costs $15 to $30 in last years. The setup pays for itself within weeks. After that, the savings are nearly pure. This is not a lifestyle optimization. It is the most straightforward financial and health decision on this entire list, and the industry is counting on you not making it.